open letter to Beyonce from a black mom of a premature child. I only make this open letter because so much of our motherhood stories parallel. For example, my daughter was born preemie, and so was your second daughter. Another example is one day when my premature child was sick and we happened to be near Lenox Hospital, I took my daughter to Lenox for treatment. Just so happens that night you were in labor with blue ivy. And so while you gave birth in the hospital that night, we were at the hospital. We saw the cameras, we saw the whole thing. We didn't see you, but we experienced the kind of effect that happens as a result of you having your beautiful blue ivy. I've had a chance to meet her. She's gorgeous. You know, I really like you as a mom. I think, you know, it's really been great. So watching your second pregnancy has been even better because you've shown a willingness to be open and honest about everything that's going on, and that's why I make this letter. My child was born premature, 4 pounds, and low birth rate as a result of domestic violence. I was able to spend the second half of my pregnancy in a happy experience, just trying to make sure she was okay. And she was born preemie, so I remember getting to hold her and hug her and kiss her and name her, and then the doctors took her. Because at that point, it became obvious that she was preemie and that she needed some additional care. Because I had preeclampsia, they put me on seizure watch for 28 hours. So for 28 excruciating hours, my daughter and I were separated. And the nurse was nice enough to take some pictures for me. I did eventually get to hold her. And the picture you're looking at is actually the first time I got to hold my daughter. So I know I did not mean to get emotional, but it is always emotional when you think about seeing your child for the first time on tubes and getting 15 minutes of cuddle time, and then that's it. Every 3 hours, I was able to come back to the NICU nursery and feed my child. But if I was half a second late, it was too late. The nurses were on it, and I'd have to wait 3 more hours to see my child. Thankfully, the hospital where I was at had a parent suite, and I never, ever left the hospital except when I left with my daughter. So by you being pregnant with your twins, I already kind of knew there would be challenges in terms of birth. A lot of twins have issues, but they're going to be fine. I understand, or the reports say that your children are under the lights, and I know as a NICU mom what that means. For those of you out there, that means usually something like jaundice, where their skin is kind of yellow, but the lights help, make them better. It usually means stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean something, disastrous or dangerous, but let's face it, the NICU is not a place that healthy children go. So hopefully, your children are healthy and will be fine. I show this March of Dimes, March for Babies, New York chapter, because they've just been amazing. They've been amazing. So to thank them for everything they did for us, I march every year. Josie and I have marched every year. Whenever she could, she was there with me. After we were separated, she wasn't. But I march every year for her, rain or shine. One year I marched with a swollen knee and a swollen ankle from an injury. And I marched in flip-flops, but I made it through. I was one of the last people, if not the last person, to cross. But I make this letter because I want you to understand the importance of this moment for those of us moms. You've never marched with us or written a song or done anything for us. And it's okay. When you have perfect children, everything is fine and you don't really think about it. But I do want to take this time to thank Serena, Venus, and for Venus Williams rather, and people like Eli Manning from the New York Giants. They lead our parade and lead our march from Lincoln Center through Central Park and ending up at Madison Square Park, which ironically happens to be 2 blocks from your husband's 40/40 club. That's where we end up with our march, and we celebrate our children's lives. And those who didn't make it, some children are walking with the aid of devices. Some children walk with oxygen. Some children can't walk, so they are in wheelchairs. Other children just can't be out there at all, so their families watching for them. And it's a very powerful, emotional day where we try to bring awareness to premature children. So I'm hoping that with your status and with your celebrity and with the whole world watching your birth, that you use this moment to talk about the importance of additional research, the importance of education, the importance of etiquette, because we do, as parents of preemies, experience a lot. My child was very little. She was smaller than a magazine. She looks pretty healthy there, but those pictures are always a little deceiving, and we were just happy to be together. There were extreme complications afterwards. We were in the NICU for a week or 2, and lots happened afterwards. In fact, when I brought her home, she was so small that one of my neighbors said that she called Child Protective Services and said that my child had died and that I was walking around with the doll pretending to have a baby. As you can imagine, I was devastated because suddenly child welfare was at my door, and they had came with about 6 police officers, and Dova Marner, who is at the time was the head of the mental health section of CPS, because they had assumed that any woman who had lost a child and was pretending to have a child must be crazy. But the truth was, my daughter was alive, is still alive. It just happened to be 4 pounds, very, very small, but alive. So I was just devastated that someone would do that to us. And everything that happened thereafter was just absolutely traumatic. The city of New York failed us tremendously, but by God's grace, we managed to move on to a happy life for as long as we were able to, until yet another false allegation came through CPS, and we've been fighting to get back together ever since. Back to the important thing right here, which is prematurity, low birth weight. If there was more education, my neighbor would not have called and pretended that my child was dead. If there was more education, some of the children might have been born without their birth defects. If there's more education and funding, more parents could stay at the NICU longer with their children. We all know how important that skin-to-skin contact is when they're first born. So some moms have to leave their children because they're single mothers and have other kids, or they have to leave their children because they have to go to work. So I'm just hoping that you will use this moment to bring awareness to my child, Josie. You can go to josiesvoice.com and learn how to help us stop family court corruption, learn how to help us pass Josie's law that will allow people to sue false allegations reporters, to allow us to get the police to arrest people who make false allegations, to bring more awareness to the whole concept that anyone can call and make a false allegation, and most importantly, bring awareness to children who are low birth weight and preemie. Did you know that women over 35 and victims of domestic violence tend to have premature children? I fit both categories. So I also hope that this will bring an opportunity for you to talk about all the different ways a premature child can come into the earth, and all the different ways that we can help support them. The bills are astronomical. Finding diapers for a preemie is impossible. You know, when a child's smaller than a magazine, you can imagine how tiny the diaper was. I remember the NICU nurse, and I want to thank them. They were amazing, amazing, amazing. But the NICU nurse and we fretted. You know, you can't leave the hospital without a car seat. And my daughter was so tiny. She was so little. We couldn't get her to fit in the seat. We adjusted all the straps. We did everything we could. She was just so small. She was just going to fall out. So they finally had to just let me leave. And I got into a taxi. We only were a few blocks from the hospital where she was born. And you know, it was probably the most nerve-wracking 9 minutes of my life getting her home. But nothing fit. Clothes didn't fit. The stroller didn't fit. She didn't fit in anything. She was so tiny. And, you know, premature children cannot use powdered milk. So you have to nurse them. But premature children need milk on such demand that most moms of preemies can't produce. So you need a hospital-grade nursing pump. And those are so expensive. So one of the things you can also help us do is to bring awareness to all the things that moms need. In addition, you can bring awareness to domestic violence pregnancy. You sometimes are hungry during pregnancy because the man is starving you or harassing you or whatever the reason you're not eating properly. You're stressed out. You're just trying not to be killed during the domestic violence, so the baby's not getting everything that the baby needs. You can help us bring awareness to the need for assistance. I mean, you can only stay in a domestic violence shelter in New York City for 90 days, 45 to 90 days. Initially it's 45 days, and then they can extend it to 90 days. After that, where are you going to go? Everyone tells us to leave the domestic violence, but where are we going to go? And now we have new babies, where we have to try to find diapers and all the things that you need for preemies. You know, I nursed my child. But, you know, I also needed to support her in other ways because there were times I couldn't nurse. So thank you, Similac, for making your special formulas. But the only way I could do it was they came up with something called ready to use. It was already pre-measured and already liquid because my daughter was preemie, and they cannot have powdered milk. So you can't have Enfamil or the powdered Similac or the Good Start. You have to have the liquid version. So Beyonce, on behalf of mothers of premature children like me, please use this moment to help our children, to help bring awareness, to donate money, to walk in the March for Babies, to make a song. Jennifer Hudson made such a beautiful song for Pampers. I've played that song every single day of my baby's life, and we still play it. But every time someone downloaded that song, you know, Pampers gave money to March of Dimes and helped us out. So honestly, you would be surprised how many women need you. My child's godmother was in the hospital with a premature child. She spent 5.5 months on her side because she had a short cervix, which means the baby could have just dropped out. So they tried to put stitches, but they could only get 1 stitch in there. So she had to be on her side for 5.5 months. While she was in the hospital, she was evicted from her apartment. While she was in the hospital, she lost so much. And then the worst news came. The worst news came. She went in at 26 weeks, and she made it a few weeks before she found out that her insurance was lapsing. Can you imagine knowing that if you get up, the baby will die, but knowing that you can't lay in the hospital because the hospital can't keep you in the bed? So I called the March of Dimes in her state. She was in Texas, she was in Houston, and I got a couple of different organizations to get involved, and they visited her at the hospital, just kept her spirits up and did a bunch of stuff for her. And eventually, because so many people cared, the hospital was kind enough to pay the insurance lapse to make sure that she could stay in the hospital as long as she needed to have the baby. And her son is a gorgeous little boy. Alex is going into 2nd grade. And none of that would have been possible without the March of Dimes. So I need you to understand the importance of this, the importance of what you're doing, and why it matters so much. Also, please go to josiesvoice.com. That's JOSEE josiesvoice.com, josiesvoice.com. Read our story, donate to our fund, help us in any way you can. Just the prayers will help, but please, Beyonce, Jay-Z, anyone who hears this, you have the power to change so many babies' lives. And as we get to know Beyonce's twins over the next several years, those complications for them could be there, or maybe they'll be lucky and blessed and not have any. But if they do, then she'll understand. You'll understand how serious this is. My daughter had 7 specialists. We had a cardiologist, a gastrologist, a neurologist, and on and on and on. We were constantly in the hospital. Those bills rack up. Some parents are lucky and they can get the SSI for their children. Others are not. It's a very expensive process having children that are premature. So please, Beyonce, use your fame to help the world understand the importance of giving to the March of Dimes, helping premature children, volunteering to give, to hold babies while the parents are at work. Make sure you are background checked, and that we don't want any funny business. We want to make sure that everybody's been background checked. But we need your help so desperately. So please, on behalf of Josie, behalf of me, behalf of Beyonce's twins and everyone else, J.R. Smith, his child is in the NICU. She was born at like 1 or 2 pounds. So we understand. So God bless you guys and your babies. Thank you so much for taking this time to watch this video. Please go to josiesvoice.com, josiesvoice.com, and on behalf of Beyonce's twins and my daughter, please make a donation at gofundme.com/josiesmom. All that money will be used to fight to get us back together. Will be used to get me to Congress so that I can testify before Congress about some of the situations that I've experienced and how to tighten the laws regarding CPS. It will go to help other parents who have been falsely accused, and to support moms, particularly single moms, when they have children that are premature, to help bring them home, to make sure they have everything they need. Again, congratulations, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Congratulations on your beautiful babies and your wonderful family. Please go to josiesvoice.com, josiesvoice.com, and help us if you can. God bless.